John, I'm really confused what to make of these GDP figures out of China this week. On the one hand, I mean, the economy is growing 9% per annum. That sounds really good. It'll double in 9 years. On the other hand, it's the slowest growth in 2.5 years, and the property market looks very weak. And it sounds like everyone can sort of see what they want out of this, but whatever.
Exactly. You can look at these numbers and you can take away whatever you want. And I think that with a number like GDP, it's of limited use. It's so important that it's always going to be managed.
It's sort of manufactured anyway.
It's kind of manufactured. So I think what's interesting here is a couple of other numbers that are in the same data that people don't necessarily notice. One of the big ones is that China is now more urbanized than it is rural. So 50% of the population now lives in cities. That's a big transition for China, which previously was, down in the 30%. And of course, in the 60s, was actually actively pushing people out to the countryside. So this is a big long-term shift.
But that's good, because it would have been a lot faster had the government not sort of controlled that, right? I mean,
well, it would be faster, yeah.
We don't see shanty towns outside of Shanghai,
you don't see
favelas
shanty
outside
towns,
of Beijing.
And what China has is growth as well as urbanization, whereas when you look at Africa, for example, you see a lot of urbanization with no growth. China's actually probably slowing the pace of urbanization by things like the hukou registration system, which makes it harder for people to go to cities. If they took that away, you'd probably have even higher urbanization, and you'd have all the urban problems that go with that.
Right.
So China's actually doing pretty well.
So what's the outlook then for the cities? I mean, are they going to be? Does this mean China has achieved this balanced growth? Because I know consumption is a higher factor in the GDP numbers.
Consumption is a higher factor too. I mean, it's good, but it's also bad, because cities are springing up basically for no reason other than the politicians want to build them. Yeah, there's no geographical advantage.
These are the so-called ghost cities.
The ghost cities like Ordos in Inner Mongolia. You also have too much building of city infrastructure. So there's a report by Credit Suisse out recently that says that China's got 20 years worth of excess housing in the pipeline, 20 years worth of demand. So what we've actually got is not too much urbanization, but we've got too much city with not enough people living in it. So matching those buildings to the population is going to be one of the big challenges for the next 5, maybe even more years, 5 to 10 years. Now, the other thing that I think is interesting in these numbers is that the sex ratio has rocketed to 17 extra boys for each 100 girls.
Too many men.
Too many men. So that's going to be the other big demographic time bomb.
Sounds like a disaster. You've got too many men standing around without jobs.
They either become entrepreneurs or they become criminals.
Or they can go live in ghost cities.
Or they can live in ghost cities.
Right.